Hello, everyone. We finally made it to the NHL Stanley Cup playoffs finals, and it's such an exciting and interesting matchup. We have the lowest seeded team in the playoffs in the Montreal Canadiens against last year's champions, the Tampa Bay Lightning. I can't wait to get into this, so I'm just going to hop right into talking about the Canadiens, how they got to where they are, and then Tampa Bay and how they got to where they are, and then how I think the actual matchup will turn out. So, Montreal, they've been the underdogs the entire way. I've gone against them each time, but they are my favorite team that made the playoffs. Um, I just didn't think that they were going to be able to manage it. And a lot of the praise deserves to go to Carey Price, who's been the best goalie of the playoffs. Uh, they've also played strong defensively to help him, and their offense has played with high energy and created chances out of nothing a lot of times. Uh, but mostly it comes down to their goaltending. If they didn't have Price in goal, they probably would have lost in games 5 or 6 in the first round against Toronto. That was their toughest challenge so far, coming back from that 3-1 series deficit. Um, and then against Winnipeg, they surprised people yet again by sweeping the Jets and just by completely shutting down their offense. They managed to keep their chances pretty low, and then when they did, Price was there to make a big save. This last round against Vegas, uh, they were able to completely stop their top players from creating, or their top offensive players from creating anything. And uh, on the downside, though, I think it exposed a bit of a weak spot in Montreal's game in that they give the defense a little too much space as the Golden Knights were creating their offense from Petrangelo and Theodore mostly, and Martinez. Um, but that's due to how Montreal's been playing. They collapse in front of their net, and it doesn't allow the forwards to get open too easily in good scoring positions, but it does allow the defense a little bit more space along the blue line to walk across and find openings. And when they do manage to get it through the traffic, that's when a goal happens. Um, so Tampa could take advantage of that. We'll see if Montreal can adjust going into the finals. Um, and I'm really excited to see how they do. I think they're a very tough team to predict because of how much of an underdog they seem to be, but then just how much they're dominating each of these strong teams. For Tampa Bay, they've looked like such a powerhouse the whole way through. They can play to any style. In the first round against Florida, it was a shootout offensively, and they were able to outscore them. Against Carolina, that was a high energy offense with a lot of depth, and they were able to shut them down. And then against the Islanders, that was a heavy defensive team, and they were able to dismantle that defensive style, and even having a convincing, what was it, 8-0 win in Game 5. And then in the final game, in Game 7, they scored the first shorthanded goal against the Islanders all year to win 1-0. So that shows me two things: that they're able to get it done however they need to, and they can shut the door. Vasilevsky can just completely shut out a team's offense when he has to. Um, as for this series, I think that both teams it'll be dependent on how Price plays. If Price can steal the games, Montreal will win. But if Tampa's able to solve him, they should be able to win. Um, Montreal has done really well killing penalties throughout the playoffs, but they haven't played against a power play quite like Tampa's. I know Winnipeg had a good power play in the regular season, but they were without Scheifele for that series, and he's a pretty key part of their power play. He was their top power play producer in the regular season. Uh, but Tampa seems to be really strong on the power play, and Montreal hasn't had to deal with anything to that level yet in the playoffs. So I think they'll want to stay out of the box because if you give Tampa too much zone time and they allow that space to the defensemen, Tampa's got guys who can get it through. Each round I've gone against each of these teams the whole way. Montreal because I didn't think that they were going to make it as much as I wanted them to, and Tampa because I just didn't want to see them get through. So I was just hoping that someone else would beat them along the way. So with that said, Tampa's such a strong team that I will predict them, but I'll be wanting Montreal to win. But I got Tampa Bay in 6 games. So that sets me up for a win-win situation where it's like one way I get the prediction right, the other way is the team I want to win going. This will be an interesting finals as it's 2 Eastern teams, so like time zones aren't going to factor into it, and it's going to be a little bit less travel. It's still a long ways north and south, but they'll be in the same time zone, I believe. And it'll let it be more dependent on other factors. We can't use the time zone factor as a home ice advantage. So yeah, I got Tampa in 6. Let's see how it turns out. I'm really excited for this series. Thanks for watching.